In today's Ready Chat, we are connecting with our African Heritage Business Resource Group, as well as a guest speaker to discuss things we wish we would have known at the start of our career. This topic is so timely as a number of organizations are wrestling with attrition and advancing employees, specifically from a leadership perspective in the Black community. Those of you probably know, I'm Floss Aggrey. I'm the Chief Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Officer here at Randstad, responsible for partnering and shaping our D&I strategy internally to the organization. Chelsea is the founder of St. James Xavier Group. She partners with Fortune 500 companies in facilitating programs, workshops, doing one-on-one coaching. So I'm excited to hear what she will share today, as well as our business resource groups, Anissa Patman and Jonathan Clark, co-leads. They work in HR, and we partner strongly with HR from an equity, diversity, and inclusion and accessibility perspective. So I'm happy that you guys are here. So Chelsea, anything additional that you'd like to add?
Thank you so much, Floss, for allowing me to be here to serve you and your organization. It's an honor. At St. James Xavier Group, we focus on business development. We do a lot of executive coaching and culture work. So that's what we do. We're based here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I'm hoping that people walk away feeling empowered and informed. First question is going to be to you, Chelsea. There's a study out that talks about 1 in 3 employees, 2023, they're anticipating leaving the organization. So, this is so important to employers. What should we be thinking about as leaders to help mitigate this challenge?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think we have a big concern that's going to affect our bottom line. So to start with, I think that we have to really lean in to our employees and meet them where they are and try to do like a needs assessment. What is it that they need for their career? What are some of the gaps that we're missing as far as support? I think they have to look at investing into them. What does that look like? That looks like programs, professional development, executive coaching, young professional coaching, culture work, self-awareness. So that's what I would offer. That those are some things that leaders could look at.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for that. My next question is to you, Jonathan. As you know, the path to upward mobility goes both ways, right? It rests with the person receiving that and the person giving that. What should employees do to advocate for themselves and their own success?
Oh, good question. First, I think they need to be clear about what they want. So clarity, I think, is important of knowing what your target is long term, making sure that it's in alignment with who you are, your strengths, your skills, right? And then once you have that clarity, you really need to take charge of your career. I think particularly in the Black community, sometimes we've been a little passive in navigating our careers and just kind of relying on people to notice us, give us promotional opportunities. Maybe we don't advocate for ourselves as much as we should. But here, for example, with our great conversations at Randstad, I've talked to several employees who say, well, my manager hasn't had a great conversation with me, right? I have that occasionally. And I say to them, schedule it. Take the initiative and set it up yourself because you're driving it. It's your career. And your leader might just be busy. There might be a million things going on, maybe an oversight. Take the initiative and schedule it yourself. It's your career. So taking initiative and taking charge, really advocating for yourself, being visible, building relationships. Those are things that are important if you really want to elevate your career.
Thank you for that. So, Anissa, there are a number of, taking Jonathan's point, there are a number of companies that are focused on programs to help from an upward mobility perspective. What should we be thinking about as leaders or those leaders listening to ensure that these programs are working long term?
Well, first, thanks for the question, first of all, Floss. I think, first of all, you have to make sure that your programs are not canned, meaning trying to make everyone fit in a specific type of program, and look at having a little bit more flexibility, especially as it relates to diversity and inclusion. And then I think also, too, once you establish what that program should be, then as leaders, you definitely need to advocate for that program, because if the leaders have the buy-in, then the employees are willing to look at that more and to be interested in those programs.
Thank you. A great point. So Chelsea, I'm going to come back to you. What about employees that are actually struggling with that? So they're struggling with getting in the driver's seat concerning their own growth. And I've heard even senior level executive women, people in the Black community struggle with this. How can you get in the driver's seat of it?
Yeah, I think it's so layered and complex. I think we have to start with ourselves. That's what I encourage my executive coaching clients. I encourage them to start with yourself. Look in the mirror. Ask yourself why, what's going on with me underneath. It could be fear. It could be anxiety. There could be also a lack of psychological safety at play within the organization as to why they don't want to step into asking for help or asking about their growth path. I think that's a starting place, but I think also to put a plan in place. What is your strategic plan for your career? And partner with someone like you, right? Or like Jonathan or Anissa, and ask for help. Say, hey, I'm thinking about this. I don't know what to do. Be vulnerable and start to practice that and lean in and ask some questions. So I would say that would be two things.
Okay, that's a really good point. So Jonathan, in follow up to that, do you think someone has to be in a sort of predetermined box to grow in the corporate world, or can we be our authentic self?
I think you can be yourself, but I think it's very important to also identify what are the skills needed to get where you want to go. And sometimes those skills might require you to step outside your comfort zone. And just because you are not comfortable with something doesn't mean it's not you. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity, you haven't had the exposure or the development needed to really step into those skills yet, right? So it's important to separate, I think, what's core to your identity in terms of who you are as a person, your culture, from things that you might not be comfortable with because you haven't had the opportunity or haven't been exposed to it yet. And any growth, I think, requires you to step outside your comfort zone. Yeah, I've had to do that, being an introvert. If I wanted to grow, I needed to make sure I was connecting with people more, getting myself out there, having some visibility and really building relationships and able to interact with different stakeholders. So that's taken a little bit of development on my part. I'm still an introvert. I make sure I'm mindful of how I recharge myself and how to balance my energy, but you can still have people skills as an introvert. So it was about changing my mindset about who I was as well.
Okay, thank you. Great point. So Anissa, we know of a number of companies right now are focused on a cultural bonus, like that cultural add versus cultural fit. But is there a specific type of person, that you have to be to advance? Does that person look a certain way?
No, I think there's different types. I think sometimes we've always focused being in your corporation, whether the person's an extrovert or an introvert. And the truth is a leader can be both. You can have an extrovert or you can have an introvert. It's just all about that leadership style. So I think it's not really just focusing on the personality types. It's just really looking within, because if a person is a go-getter, it doesn't matter if they're an extrovert or an introvert, as long as they have, like Jonathan said, those skills to accomplish the job and willing to go outside their comfort zone.
Okay.
And I would like to add a piece too. I think I love everything you're saying. I think in our society, we have really failed around the judgment with introversion and extroversion. I think we really need to kind of lean in and be curious as to why we're doing that. But then also understand that introversion is recharging.
Exactly.
Right? And extroversion is keep going. I'm the extrovert, so I want to keep going. But just being, giving some grace around that. And I think that you could be a great leader and you could be introverted or extroverted. So just want to offer that piece.
Anything you guys want to add to that?
I agree. You're talking to two introverts. So
Well, it's already said. Okay.
Fully endorsed.
Before we wrap up, two final questions to each of you. What is one thing you wish you would have known at the start of your corporate career? Let's start with you, Chelsea.
Yeah. So I wish I would have known, first off, I wish I would have had a floss as a leader, but I wish I would have known more about air cover, like what that looked like as a Black female in corporate America. I just didn't have it. And it made me feel really sad and lost and I wasn't seen. So I struggled with that. But I wish I would have known what air cover and sponsorship meant. And I think in our community, we really need to lean in and be curious and take care of each other from that perspective. So that's what I would offer.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Anissa.
I think that from a culture standpoint, I was always kind of brought up to you're supposed to be strong, a strong woman, not to ask for help. But if I had to do it over, which I would have known from my corporate career, is to not be afraid to ask for help and to, to step outside my comfort zone and don't think that I can do it all by myself, because at the end of the day, we all need help to move up the corporate ladder or whatever we're doing in this society. We need help, and not to be afraid to ask for help.
I would say I wish I had known that my toughest battles would be with myself versus external, because you look in the mirror and you face a lot of demons, flaws, things you have to grow past in order to elevate yourself. And you really need to do that self-work, that personal work, in order to push yourself beyond your limitations. So that's definitely a huge part of it, especially being a black male, and my experience as a black male has a lot to do with that. And some of it's still real, things we need to address as well, but I can't let that hold me back. And I need to do my personal work to push beyond any limitations that are out there for myself. So I would start with that. Agility is a lot more important than perfection. So it's okay to be able to make mistakes. And again, being a black male, my idea of what it took for me to succeed was that I shouldn't show a chink in my armor, because I didn't want to be a stereotype or anybody to paint me with a broad paintbrush if I showed a flaw. But that prevents you from asking for the help you need, like Anissa said, sometimes. So we have to be willing to ask for the help we need so we can get that development and then push and grow and achieve the goals that we want to achieve. And then thirdly, relationships. I think I highly underestimated, I know, I highly underestimated the power of relationships, having mentors, sponsors, people to advocate for you in rooms when you're not there, and then showing the skills that you need to show in terms of being a leader to be able to relate to people and have people skills. That's something I've had to grow and develop over time.
Thank you for that. So a final question, but before I ask the final question, I'll share my thing, which I would have known. And that one thing was just really being discerning in terms of feedback, right? Some feedback you need to take in and actually make adjustments, and some of it you take with a grain of salt. So it's just having the wisdom to do that. I do have a final question for each of you. So people listening today, what would you lead them with, right? So I'm listening. What should I walk away with as a leader to know this is what I should do or focus on to help advance, say in the Black community, in terms of upward mobility? Or I'm an employee. What should I focus on? And it can be Black or otherwise. So I'll start with you, Kirsten.
So I love that question. Yeah. I would say my focus would be Black leaders that have a seat at the table. Leverage your power, influence, and extend the olive branch for those that need it, and give some air cover somewhere where you're going. If you see it, lean in and give that air cover, because our ancestors are requiring us to step up in our community. So that's what I would offer.
That's a good one. Thanks.
Yeah. I would just say for all leaders to be approachable. Yeah. Because you need to, especially if you're like a person like an introvert, you want to be able to approach someone. So I think to be approachable so that your employees feel that they can come and talk to you, not only just about their career, but other things, to establish that relationship. Because I think if you can establish a relationship or rapport with your leaders, I think that kind of helps with your career development. And I think as for employees, again, just stepping outside of your comfort zone. I think like Jonathan said, do a self-assessment of yourself, but also don't be afraid to go for it. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Let's do it. Let's sit over.
I would say for leaders, be sure, and even allies. Let's talk about allies as well.
Yes.
Let's be sure you're being inclusive in your leadership style. Yes. Invite people into those rooms, into the table, from all walks of life, all backgrounds. We have a natural tendency to gravitate towards people that are similar to us, and it's a natural thing to do, but we need to challenge ourselves to step outside that and be inclusive of all people, because we talked about sponsorship, mentorship, relationships, that on the other side, if you're a leader and you're somebody that has access to opportunities, it's important to make sure you're looking at everybody, because if not, you're missing out on key talent. Sometimes the best person is not somebody that's similar to you, it's the person's from a different group. So it's very important if you're going to elevate your team and your company to make sure you're looking at everybody to grant those opportunities. So I think that's key. However, if you're from a diverse group, we can't wait on that. So it's important, again, I said, take charge, be assertive, fight for your visibility, battle your own demons, and just push through it.
Very good. Great nuggets.
Wow.
Thank you.
Great nuggets.
I have one other thing, so I'll add to that if I can top it in any way. From a leadership perspective, the thing that I think that leaders could walk away with is just making sure that we do what we say we're going to do in terms of providing that support, right? You're developing that plan and you provide it to us and we agree to support you on that. We do that. And then when it comes to employees that are looking for career development and growth, just really taking the step and moving forward, and sometimes doing the job before you actually get the job, right? So sometimes you may not necessarily have that title just yet, but doing. So this is great. Thank you for spending time with me today. This has been an amazing conversation, and thank you for watching this session of Ready Chat for Black History Month. Thank you.
Thank you.